Most men are told, sometimes directly, sometimes quietly, that after 70, life becomes about holding on. Holding on to health, holding on to relevance, holding on to dignity. But there's a truth few people ever say out loud. After 70, small decisions don't lose power, they gain it. There's a man I want you to picture. He isn't famous. He didn't reinvent himself overnight. No dramatic transformation, no speeches, no big announcements. He simply decided that his days would no longer be accidental. What changed his life wasn't energy. It wasn't motivation. It was something quieter. It was compounding. Like many men over 70, he carried fears he rarely spoke about. The fear of becoming invisible in conversations. The fear that his presence no longer mattered. The fear that confidence fades slowly, without warning. And perhaps the deepest fear of all that time was moving faster than meaning. What surprised him was how small the solution was. Tiny habits, almost unimpressive on their own, began stacking quietly, day after day, week after week. Until something shifted, people started responding to him differently. And more importantly, he began seeing himself differently. The first change was simple enough to overlook. He began starting his mornings the same way every day. Not with urgency, not with noise. With order. A glass of water, a few minutes of light movement. It's a deliberate moment of grooming. Nothing flashy, just intentional. This solves something most men don't realize they're losing after 70, a sense of command over the day. When mornings drift, confidence drifts with them. When the day begins scattered, the mind follows. But order in the morning sends a message to the body and the mind. You are still in charge. There's something grounding about seeing yourself well-groomed in the mirror while the world is still quiet. The feel of clean fabric against the skin. The sound of shoes placed neatly by the door to remind you that you haven't faded. You've refined. And here's the quiet power of it. This one habit makes the next one easier, because clarity creates momentum. That momentum carried him into the second habit. He began walking every day. Not for distance, not for numbers, for presence. Daily walking solved more than physical stiffness. It restored mental sharpness and social confidence. Movement sends a signal to the nervous system that you're still participating in life, not observing it from the sidelines. He noticed something unexpected. People made eye contact again. Neighbors nodded. Strangers held doors a little longer. There's dignity in motion, and after 70, stillness is too often mistaken for decline. The rhythm of footsteps, the steady breath, the quiet confidence of knowing the body still responds to discipline. And that movement sharpened the mind, which prepared him for the third habit. He began protecting his attention. Less background noise, less endless news, fewer distractions pulling at his thoughts. This solved a problem many men mistake for aging mental fatigue. When the mind is overloaded, confidence erodes. Words come slower. Conversations feel heavier. But when attention is protected, thoughts settle. Speech becomes deliberate. Presence deepens. He noticed people listened more closely when he spoke, not because he spoke louder, but because he spoke calmly. Here's a question worth sitting with for a moment. When was the last time silence felt powerful to you? A clarity led naturally to the fourth habit. He became selective with his social energy, not isolated. Selective, he chose spaces where respect flowed both ways. He stopped explaining himself to people who didn't listen. This solved the exhaustion of performing relevance. After 70, dignity grows when you stop chasing approval. Something subtle shifted. The fewer rooms he tried to impress, the more authority he carried into the ones that mattered. A quiet compliment here, a nod of respect there. The atmosphere around him changed. That set the stage for the fifth habit, the one that quietly ties everything together. He began ending each day with reflection, not pages of writing. Just a few calm moments. What went well today? What deserves repeating tomorrow? This habit solved the fear of time slipping away unnoticed. Reflection turns ordinary days into meaning. The soft glow of a lamp in the evening. The house settling into silence. The sense of completion before sleep. Compounding doesn't rush. It reassures. Here's something society rarely admits. Men over 70 don't lose value. They lose visibility, and habits restore it. These small decisions didn't make him younger. They made him grounded. Confidence returned, not loud, not flashy, but unshakable. Presence deepened. Independence strengthened. People sensed it, and he felt it. Because compounding doesn't announce itself, it accumulates. If there's one thing to remember, let it be this. It is never too late for small actions to create large outcomes. And if you want to understand how compounding works, not just in habits, but in health, mindset, finances, and daily life, watch the next video on your screen. It connects everything you've just heard and shows how quiet consistency builds a life that age cannot diminish. This isn't about adding years to life. It's about adding weight to each day.